I've made one of the toughest decisions of my life and decided that I will not be running for re-election to the United States Senate. But what I will be doing is traveling the country and speaking out to see if there is an interest in creating a movement to mobilize the middle and bring Americans together.
That was Democratic Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia saying he will not run for re-election in 2024, but he may not be done with a career in politics. Yahoo Finance's very own Rick Newman is here with his reaction. So, Rick, walk us through this news. What do you make of it?
My first reaction is Manchin's wording seems designed to absolutely torment the Biden administration, the people who want Biden to get reelected to a second term. He didn't say what he's going to do instead of running for reelection to the Senate. And his wording was vague enough to make it sound like maybe he actually will run for president of the United States as an independent, or possibly as the candidate for this no labels party, which would absolutely just throw Democrats into a tailspin, because their logic would be that if there is a plausible middle of the road candidate, such as a centrist Democrat, which is what Joe Manchin is, he would potentially take votes from Biden in the swing states that are going to determine the outcome and hand the election to Donald Trump, assuming Donald Trump is the Republican candidate. Now, I have no idea if Manchin intends to do that, if he actually wants to run for president. He may have a different interest, which is perhaps pressuring Biden to campaign more as a centrist. And there could be some behind the scenes deal making between Biden and Manchin. I mean, imagine if Manchin said to Biden, well, I'll tell you what, I will actually endorse you and campaign for you if you move to the center on these issues that matter to me. And those issues have a lot to do with energy. West Virginia is an important energy state, and that's mostly fossil fuels. So what might Biden offer him in return? Maybe a cabinet position in a Biden administration if Biden wins re-election. Joe Manchin as energy secretary, anybody? I'm just playing around with the possibilities here. But this is a wild card for the 2024 presidential campaign.
Well, Rick, the question is whether the 2024 presidential election, we should, by the way, say it's still a year out, whether that is something that is going to be won on centrist issues, right? I mean, I haven't talked to you, Rick, since the results on Tuesday. Democrats had a better outcome than expected, but I mean, what does it tell you about what the key issues are as it stands right now? And is Manchin's endorsement something that could make a difference in that?
I think you could make the case that, yes, it is something that would make a difference. Here's something we have talked about before, Akiko, is this election almost certainly, just like 2020, is going to come down to a relatively small number of swing voters in a relatively small number of swing states. It could be between 4 and 6 states. And we could be talking about 1% of the population in those states. I mean, we're talking about Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Nevada. It could be 1% of the vote in those states that turns the election either to the Democrat or the Republican, and therefore determines who wins the whole presidential campaign. So yes, those centrist votes absolutely matter, because those are the only votes that are potentially up for grabs. I mean, we saw in Tuesday's off-year elections, abortion was a big issue that helped Democrats, abortion rights. But anybody who's going to vote because of abortion rights is probably a Democrat or a Democratic-leaning voter who has already made up their mind about 2020. It's that very small portion of voters who are persuadable that are going to turn the election. So yes, it does matter in the center. And one other thing I should just point out, that with Manchin leaving the Senate, there's no way a Democrat is going to get his seat in West Virginia. West Virginia is one of the Trumpiest and most Republican states in the nation. It's an oddity of politics that Manchin, as a Democrat, has been able to hold that seat. But that seat will almost certainly go to Republicans, and increases the likelihood that Republicans will actually take control of the Senate in 2024.
Okay, another thing to watch there. Rick Newman, as always, thanks so much.
Bye, guys.